While we await further information, just to recap, the Soyuz TMA-06M spacecraft with Kevin Ford, Oleg Novitsky, and Yevgeny Turelkin has landed to the northeast of Arkalyk. We are trying to verify an unofficial touchdown time for you. The touchdown occurring about 5 minutes or so ago. That landing confirmed by the search and recovery forces under reduced visibility at the landing site to the northeast of the town of Arkalyk. The deorbit burn and all of the events during the entry timeline were executed flawlessly. The Soyuz in good shape. Communications, as is typically the case, were choppy at times, hampered, of course, by the distance between the International Space Station and the Soyuz vehicle. Search and recovery forces began a dialogue with the crew just a few minutes before touchdown to provide status reports back to the Russian Mission Control Center in Korolyov outside of Moscow. You're looking at a live view of the ISS flight control room for the Russian Mission Control Center. And the words, yes to Posадka, they've landed on the front board, as is traditional at the moment of touchdown for the Soyuz.
This is the television team. Com checks.
You're hearing some of the reports relayed by the search and recovery forces through an interpreter that some of the ground-based personnel that are in all-terrain vehicles are about 10 minutes away from the spacecraft. Several search and recovery helicopters were flying in the vicinity of the landing zone, made visual contact with the Soyuz and voice contact with the crew, and we're still awaiting word on the disposition of those helicopters to land in close proximity to the spacecraft, as is typically the case, to begin the safing of the vehicle and the extraction of the crew. One report just received here in Mission Control in Houston from NASA Public Affairs Officer Josh Byerly is that the helicopter that he and Mike Serber, the Director of Human Spaceflight Operations in Russia, that helicopter that they were on that flew this morning from Kustanai, the prime staging city just across the Russian border in northern Kazakhstan, to the landing site, was not permitted to land at the landing site because of reduced visibility, and so they are turning around and heading back to Kustanai as we speak. Once again, indicative of some of the challenges being faced by the search and recovery forces to deploy the most essential personnel to attend to the crew and the extraction of the crew from the Soyuz vehicle that landed approximately 10 or so minutes ago. We're still awaiting an unofficial touchdown time. Again, some of the search and recovery forces and all-terrain vehicles are approaching the spacecraft by ground, obviously. They reported just a couple of minutes ago that they were 10 kilometers from the landing zone, traveling at about 1 kilometer per minute. So within the next several minutes, we should be receiving more information as those search and recovery forces approach the vehicle. So as we await further information, once again, the Soyuz is back on Earth with its 3 crew members. We're still awaiting an unofficial landing time. We are estimating that the touchdown occurred around 10 or so p.m. Central Time, perhaps a minute or two earlier. Difficult to ascertain that because of broken communications during the final minutes of descent. The weather in the landing area consisted of low clouds and fog at the time of touchdown. That reduced visibility hampered the opportunity for all of the 12 Russian Mi-8 helicopters associated with this landing operation tonight from reaching the landing site. Only the most critical personnel are in proximity to the Soyuz spacecraft for the most efficient and expeditious recovery of the crew. So we'll be standing by for further information as we go along here and pass it on to you as information is made available to us. Reports received here at Mission Control indicate that the current thinking is that 2 of the search and recovery helicopters will be attempting to land near the Soyuz vehicle in what has become somewhat of a challenging visibility . Again, the weather over the past 2 hours deteriorated somewhat on the steppe of Kazakhstan with temperatures just above 0 Fahrenheit. And the introduction of fog and rather thick clouds in the vicinity of the landing site, some 36 miles to the northeast of Arkalyk, that has delayed the arrival of the most critical search and recovery personnel to begin the process of safing the Soyuz vehicle and extracting the crew. We're now hearing that the first of the search and recovery helicopters is now making a slow descent to land in the vicinity of the Soyuz spacecraft. So once again, we'll offer the thought that on many of the Soyuz landings where weather is a bit dicey, in some of these Soyuz landings where the weather can be challenging, the search and recovery forces, they're experts at the recovery of these crews and the Soyuz spacecraft in all types of weather. Arctic conditions, low clouds, zero visibility, high winds. The weather on this occasion, which had turned very clear during the overnight hours of Saturday morning in Kazakhstan, deteriorated somewhat in the last 2 hours, and although it did not hamper the safe touchdown of the Soyuz, it is delaying by just a few minutes the disposition of the landing of the most critical search and recovery helicopters nearby the spacecraft to begin the process of extracting the crew. We are also still waiting for an unofficial touchdown time for the Soyuz. That has not yet been received. We believe the landing occurred in the neighborhood of about 10:10 p.m. Central Time, but we have not received any confirmation, either official or unofficial, of a precise landing time, nor do we know yet whether the Soyuz landed upright or on its side. And now the report received here in Mission Control in Houston is that the Soyuz TMA-06M, hardy to the end, landed upright in its vertical position at the landing site to the northeast of Arkelik, and that search and recovery helicopters are beginning to land ever so slowly to begin to approach, for its personnel to begin to approach the Soyuz spacecraft. So the Soyuz landed upright. That will certainly expedite the extraction of the crew. The typical pattern of extracting a crew from a Soyuz that has landed upright is to erect a small stand and a ladder along the side of the Soyuz, open the top hatch of the vehicle, and begin to extract the crew one by one. The Soyuz commander, Oleg Novitsky, would be the first to be extracted from the vehicle to permit his two crewmates on either side of him, Yevgeny Tarelkin on the left and Kevin Ford on the right, then to be extracted thereafter. So we'll be standing by for further information, but the Soyuz vehicle did land vertically upright at its landing site in a rather reduced visibility with clouds and fog hampering the ability of all of the Russian Mi-8 helicopters to make it to the scene. The other report we have received is that Soyuz commander Oleg Novitsky